evening, sim racing fans, and welcome back to LSRTV's Thursday night short track sim racing coverage. Continuing tonight as we go green flag racing for round number 10 of 12, and most importantly, it means the first of 3 races in the chase for the 2015-2016 Upstate Racing League Les Enterprises MP Roy Incorporated Pro Late Model Championship. 14 drivers as of last week make the cut, and just 2 points separating those at the top from those on the bottom, with a very small bonus of just 1 point being dished out per win in the standings. And we're sure excited to see what happens not only tonight, next Thursday, and the following as well. And we're happy to have you a part of this season and now this championship as we bring you topside to the LSRTV broadcast booth. Myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Ben Kilcrease here for the call with you. LSRTV executive producer Laura Lawson, trackside, getting us on the air. Ben, I'm ready. I don't know about you. We've seen some thrilling finishes in the last couple of weeks here, and now, well, none of that mattered. This matters. It's a championship on the line, and you take 2 things that I find exciting. I find the chase concept exciting, especially on the sim, and everybody finds short track racing exciting. You put those 2 together, and we get it kicked off tonight at the virtual Langley Speedway. That's a recipe for some good stuff.
First of 3 races in the chase here tonight at Langley. It's going to be a fun race tonight. We're going to see kind of what we saw last week at Stanford. I think it was in our post-race coverage. Someone compared the 2 racetracks. They are different in length, but as far as the same similarities, they're just about the same. Long, sweeping turns. Only thing here at Langley, you got to get off the throttle just a little bit earlier.
Not a lot of banking for these guys to lean on tonight. It could get physical. We're happy to have you with us for the Adasign Wraps 151 at Langley, 151 laps at just shy of 60 miles total distance tonight. With that, let's take a look trackside and look at our iRacingBeams.com starting lineup for tonight. Pole position, get to go into qualifying session earlier this evening. Justin Fuller, the number 51 AdesignWraps.com Camry, going to bring us to it, and defending series champion shotgun on the front row, the 24 of Brandon Odo. Number 3 spot tonight, the number 1 at Timmy Hill. TJ Graves outside in the number 4 spot, and Joshua Cotton's number 81 will round out our top 5.
6 through 10 starts off with Dale O'Neill on the 54. Last week's winner, CJ LeVere, is going to be in the 44. He starts 7th. Philip Thompson is in the 17. He rolls off 8th. 9th is Nicholas Rasmussen in the 71. And rounding out the top 10, going to be the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke.
Continuing on to the field of 23 drivers, 11th tonight, Justin McDuff. Cale Frenier in 12th. 13th is Brian Rogers Jr. Stefan Baranek in 14th. And 15th, Danny DeBoot.
Bruce Hilton rolls off 16th. Dylan Gadet is in the 17th starting position. Al Smith Jr. is 18th. Brendan Wilkinson rolls off 19th. And Tony Monge rounds out the top 20.
And then shotgun at the back, 21st to the Miller High Life Chevrolet and my Colts Claw Eric Hag outside in 22nd, and 23rd the Dunkin' Donut Chevy of A.J. Hamill. Going to round out what is almost a full late model field here tonight at Langley. Lights off on top of the base car, so we are set to do battle tonight at Langley, next week in South Boston, and in the week following on the 4th of February at the New Smyrna Speedway. Those are the 3 races in the 2015-2016 Les Enterprises MP Roy Pro Late Model Series Chase for the Championship of the Upstate Racing League, and it starts here tonight. We're happy to have you with us on LSRTV at iRacing Live. Pace car down and away, the Adasign Wraps 151 is green, down to turn number 1 for the first time tonight. Pole sitter Justin Fuller, he'll take over the race lead on the inside of the racetrack. Challenge is for second, and 1 at Timmy Hill gets around defending champ Brandon Odo for P2.
You'll see a whole lot of that bottom side working here tonight, Evan. You'll see him way down by the grass. Caution out, first time tonight.
It's a melee.
Big crash.
Everybody's stacked up against the inside Jersey barrier. It looks like down in turn number 1. Big accident in the opening laps here at the Langley Speedway. And I believe the driver that goes up and over at the front of all of this, the number 54 machine, Dale O'Neill. So it's major problems for the Rockstar Energy entry. We'll take a second look in a moment. But early, that 54, we talked about guys trying to get down in line, trying to cut down in front of the 44. That's CJ LeVere. The gap was not there. He got turned into the outside wall. He goes up and over a couple of times as at least 7 or 8 cars pile in. The whole track was blocked in turn 1.
A lot of good names taken out. Dan Dubuque, Eric Hag, Tony Manji, Justin McDuff, Philip Thompson, and of course the 54 machine going over there, Dale O'Neill. Some big names taken out on this lap 1 incident here at Langley Speedway. Not the way we wanted to start off this chase of the championship.
And there's a couple of chase guys that were in that accident. They're going to have to try to get those cars repaired on as the night goes on. And we talk about differences between the season and the championship. Well, let's look at the picture right now. Justin Fuller, Tony Bonji at the top, 5,002 points. 2 bonus points, that's it. They sit in front of Joshua Cotton, CJ LeVere, Nicholas Rasmussen, got a total of 5,001, and everybody else at the standard bump up to 5,000 points to differentiate your chase drivers from those that didn't make the cut. You as well have Brandon Otto, EJ O'Rourke, Bruce Hilton, Danny Dubuque, Justin McDuff, Stefan Mernack, Dale O'Neill, Al Smith Jr., and Philip Thompson, the rest of your 14 chase guys, which I do want to note, 3 of those, we've been talking about rookies a lot this season. 3 of the 14 are first-time drivers as rookies.
Yeah, that's rookies continue to impress us here in Upstate with their competition out on the racetrack and all the smart decisions they make week in and week out. Lights go off atop the pace car. Evan is just going to choose the outside here for this restart.
Well, they're going to be in control, and he looks like he is going to be top side to the pace car. That puts the one at Timmy Hill to the inside of the front row for the restart. It looked like that a lot of guys, though, they wanted to get low early. The 51 is going to be the control car for this one. A pace car down and away into the restart box. Green flag flies back and away at the Langley Speedway. No problem for Fuller to get down right to that thick yellow line. He'll lead at a turn 2. It's Timmy Hill second, and Brandon Otto holding off a fight topside from TJ Graves to take third. The 22 car gets fourth.
LeVere gets stuck on the outside last week's winner. He loses 3 positions before he gets back into the line. Now for the whole top 10 single file as we work on lap number 8 here of 151 at Langley.
And a little bit of side-by-side now just outside the top 10, the 20 car. Al Smith Jr. going forward from 18th on the grid. He sits right now at 11th position. We'll get another spot from the 52 of Bruce Hilton as the quick lane machine dropping back on the outside of the racetrack. The Art of Ruin 56 Chevrolet in the bottom. That's Brandon Wilkinson moving up, and so is that 96 behind to Stefan Mernack. So once that bottom lane gets punched open, it's hard to shut the door, and at least 3, 4, now 5 drivers going to get around Hilton there at about 4 or 5 laps, and he's not done yet. The 2 of Mike Holtzclaw putting it to him for 13th.
As he is last week at Stafford, we saw some guys able to hold their position, defend their position from that outside line here at Langley. That's extremely tough to do. On the straightaways, it gets down to 1 groove, I'd even say a half a groove, where you have to be coming off the turn and getting back down into the turn to be competitive. Not much banking at all, like you mentioned, Evan, to hold or even try to defend your position up on the outside. If somebody gets a nose, you better just let them go and try and fit in behind them.
And with getting pushed up to the top side of the racetrack, Bruce Hilton now 15th of the 15 drivers that remain on the lead lap at lap number 13, now 14 for the driver's top side. As Fuller going to put 13 into the books again. 151 laps tonight at Langley. We've seen 100 laps at every single race so far to this point on the regular season. The chase races are much longer. 151 tonight, 150 next week. The season finale going to be 200 at the New Smyrna Speedway. Adds a little bit of a different element to strategy because tires are always a big conversation. You still only have 4 tires down in the pit box. A longer race may just make you have to make a different decision and try to ration those tires out a little bit differently. Green flag racing is what we like to see. It is what we're seeing up the front of the field. Justin Fuller out in front, and Timmy Hill, the number 1 Chevrolet. We saw him just his most recent Tuesday night in the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series driver running right now second. Brandon Otto just behind in third. Number 24 coming in as our defending champion. It was between him and Fuller last year. I would not be surprised if this championship comes down to those 2 names again.
Oh yeah, those are the two guys we talk about week in, week out, running up front. Top 3, top 5 the whole race, and even in contention for the win at the end of this thing. Look at Timmy Hill down there on the apron. He's trying to find another groove down there. I told you, we'll see him all the way down there by the grass. It just once the rubber gets down there, all the way down on that apron. That's about the only place you can run here. It is just above that yellow line and just below it. That's about the only two grooves that are fast here at Langley.
And we saw last week with that apron being an option as guys started to cheat down further and further, which makes protecting it inside of the racetrack especially late. Maybe not now at lap 20, but there'll be some guys getting way down there late in this race. It makes making that back of your race car very wide, very difficult to do when they have so much room on the inside of the racetrack to really just force it in there. Timmy Hill not falling off at all to Fuller, but if anything, the one's got to be concerned for the pressure from behind. Odo bumping around hard into turn number 3. He'll get the inside spot. The iRacing Chevrolet Corvette. Turn 4. Got him at the start-finish line for a second. Now he'll try to get through, and that 22 behind it, TJ Graves going to jump to the inside as well. That makes it a battle for third.
Graves going to try everything he can to get that spot, but the caution will fly just before he can do so. Second caution of the night here at Langley.
Taking a look to try to find the cause of that caution flag. It flies at lap number 4 your leaders, running on lap number 22, but I can't exactly promise that it wasn't one of our lap cars. It looks like it may have been a case with the number 4 machine. Cale Frenier coming off of the pit lane. He stopped just outside of the pit road cones. And I'm trying to see if that may or may not have been actually the trigger for the yellow flag, because he was slow down there on the apron when the lights did come on. Trying to take a look around the racetrack to see if I see anybody else around, Ben, but I don't see anybody else at this moment. So it looks like that 4 machine taking it easy, getting off of the pit lane, slowing down, and actually coming to a stop for a brief moment, trying to find a hole in the lap traffic for him is actually going to be what automatically triggers this caution flag.
Frenier, like you said, comes to a stop just outside the cones. If you would have waited, or if you would have stopped inside the cones there, we wouldn't have had this caution, but he comes to rest just outside of the cones there and then picks it back up. That's the cause for our second caution tonight as we work lap 24 of 151 here at Langley.
At a pit road open for your leaders, as always, though, still early. Nobody coming down quite yet as we work lap 25 of 151 tonight for the virtual Langley Speedway. Let's take a look at your rookie points. We talk about how the rookies have been impressing us. Well, Bruce Hilton, Justin McDuff, and Stefan Baranek are your rookie drivers that have made their way into the chase for the championship this year through. And you see the rookie standings. Bruce Hilton, one of the names at the top of that, along with Justin McDuff. They have the most points earned amongst rookies at 322, 318 total on the season, including the drop week, which for both of them took place at Oxford Plains Speedway back on row number 2. On a notion of who's doing what, let's talk about our power rankings into tonight's race again. It is race 10 of 12. It's the first of the chase. The numbers don't tend to lie, but who's hot recently? Well, CJ LaVere tops our iRacing Beams power rankings, been into tonight's race, and he's running comfortably inside the top 10. Nicholas Rasmussen, Justin Fuller, 2 and 3, and as well even Dale O'Neill and Brandon Otto, 4-5 in the top 5 for the power rankings. They really haven't fallen outside of the top 5 all season. CJ LaVere, one of the newer names up there, he's had a very good couple of weeks, and if you want to talk about a good time to peak, doing it right before the championship starts is a good time.
Certainly it was. Our top 2 in the power rankings, LaVere and Rasmussen, they were almost caught up lap 1 incident. They were able to escape, and now they sit inside the top 10, almost working up inside the top 5 as we get set for our second start of the night.
Base car going to make that sharp left-hand turn down and away. This time, Fuller going to hold the bottom of the racetrack. Green flag going to fly at a turn number 4. Back at it at Langley at 51 machine. Both times has chosen a lane to benefit the one. Timmy Hill battling for second on the 24 of Brandon Otto. Either the 51 wants to help the one out, or he wants to put the 24 at a disadvantage. This keeps Otto topside after starting on the outside of the front row and falling back to third now. Timmy Hill going to take P2 back, and TJ Graves going to get third. Not going to be able to do it, though. Top 3 now 5, single file.
I'm liking the strategy the 51 is playing. We might be at a short track, but strategy's still a big part of the racing. Put the 24 as far away from you as you can. If you can do something that that will hurt him in the long run, like put him on the outside, you got to do it this early on to try and get out there. Try to win this race. Try to go chase that championship. He is the defending champion, so he's going to be looking for 2 in a row. So you got to do everything you can to keep him behind you.
In the one machine as well aware of the situation, I'm sure, and that he's basically being used by the 51, and I'll get into that number 2 spot again. Again, we were just getting to the end link of a long green flag stretch. We were starting to see tires go away again. Otto had just gotten P2 away from Timmy Hill, back to the inside into turn number 3. He'll take it back, just 4 laps off the restart. He'll have him at the start-finish line and clear down into the corner. Yes, sir. So Brandon Otto back to second, Timmy Hill back to third, and TJ Graves continues to just kind of hang out behind these guys. P4, top 4 drivers trying to put a little bit of time on 5th on back. You'll find Cotton LaVere at 5-6, Rasmussen as well in 7th. All within 2 seconds of your race leader, but the top 4 closest together at this juncture, trying to gain some time.
That they are, and I'm liking the strategy Graves is running right now. Just sitting back, not really trying to go after these positions in front of him, taking it easy these first couple laps. Evan, he has had probably the worst luck out of anybody in this series this season. He's always there. He has a car that can contend for the win, but he's always in the wrong place at the right time.
Yeah, that's a double clutch Chevrolet that is not even in this championship, but could easily have 2, 3, 4 wins on the season. And we even saw it in the last couple of weeks, leading races inside the final 25 and getting results outside the top 15, outside the top 20. He wants nothing to do with the race lead right now. He does not want to get up there because it's not worked out well for him, but he wants to be in the conversation. Getting held up a little bit, though. That what a Timmy Hill went on the offense, gave a shot to Brandon Otto, kind of lost some speed off of turn number 2 laps ago, dropped him back to the clutches of TJ Graves, now 0.8 of a second off of the race lead at a 22 machine. Not afraid to put the bumper to him, peaks to the bottom into turn 3, nothing there quite yet. Meanwhile, in front of them, battle for the race lead, heating up, Justin Fuller, Brandon Otto, P1 and P2 within 1/10 of a second.
Otto right on the bumper of Fuller, loses a little bit out of that time. We'll go back to Hill, who is, for the past couple of laps, he's been overdriving 3 and 4 tremendously. He's gotten loose out of 4 a couple times. He's overdrove it down into 3, pushed up the racetrack. Graves is faster than Hill, and he's going to look down the back straightaway. He's got a nose as they race down into turn number 3. TJ Graves going to make quick of that. He's going to pick up that 3rd spot before they get off 4.
In that 22, he's not shying away just because of the name on top of the windshield. So TJ Graves now to 3rd in the number 22. The problem is he lost a little bit of time. He's now a second off of the race leaders as he had to navigate around that number 1. And now Hill falling back into the clutches of Joshua Cotton. We'll see if that'll become a battle for 4th place anytime soon. Again, Cotton LaVere, as you said, 5, 6, 7, Marinette Campbell at Al Smith Jr., 8, 9, and 10. Your top 10 at the moment of the 16 drivers that still sit on the lead lap. We had 23 drivers start on the lead lap, 24 laps down in 17th as Philip Thompson. Kel Frenier's night is done. He'll walk away 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Include Todamanji, Eric Hag, Dale O'Neill, Justin McDuff, and Danny DeBuke, who were in that opening race accident that has hindered them unable to finish the race. And for those names that are a part of our championship 14, although not officially mathematically, but you're finishing down there in the first race of the chase, you can pretty much call your championship hopes shot before they even started.
Yeah, most definitely. Tough luck for those guys on that first lap incident. We talked about the longer races, Evan, and we talked about the patience these guys are going to have to show if they want anything to do with that championship. As the caution flies again for the 3rd time here tonight at Langley. It's for an incident down in turn number 1 involving Bruce Hilton, who leads our Rookie of the Year standings.
Leading the Rookie of the Year championship and as well being one of the drivers in the championship. But this all started way back in turn 4. That car just was not sticking to the racetrack. The back end way out of line in 4. He did a good job of hanging on to it. Eventually, though, had to start turning the car. He was going to take out the outside fence, sputtered around. It's a single car accident at lap number 45. And a good piece of driving from behind, I will say. A lot of the time, you don't know where a car like that's going to be going. A good piece of aggressive driving by E.J. O'Rourke to keep his 41 machine out of that one, or that one could have hurt. He's as well one of our championship drivers. All the drivers fighting for a championship, they could be easily identified, not only if you know who we're talking about, but be able to take a look at the race cars, those bright orange numbers signifying the drivers that are in this hunt for the Pro Late Model Series Championship. Hilton, one of those drivers involved in this accident. And good news, though, no damage to work on. He'll take a fresh set of tires if he elects to come down, get back out there. Almost at 1/3 distance, though. This caution flag going to bring us over that point. The restart going to be with about 50 or 51 laps down.
Yeah, these guys ticking off very quickly here at Langley with 15-second laps. It doesn't take long to get through 100. Good thing we do have 151 up on the board. Some great racing so far early on in this race as we approach that 1/3 mark. Like you said, Justin Fuller doing a great job out in front, but he's got Brandon Odo right there on his rear bumper. The guy I'm watching, though, Evan, I've been watching him this whole race. CJ LaVere, if you remember last week, he waited and waited and waited. Made his move late in the race. He had tires left. Nobody else did. And that's what landed him in victory lane at the end of the Stafford race last weekend.
And Fuller up front, one of the guys that we've seen win races by taking tires and win races by not taking tires. But at least at this moment, they're sticking with set number 1 that they took at the start of the race. And the variance that they get, you mentioned only 4 tires that they can take. It doesn't sound like a lot. There's still plenty of that they can do, especially in a 151-lap race. You can come down halfway, take 4 tires at once. You can come down a couple of times, take 2 swigs of right side surface. So there is a little bit of variance in what these guys can do strategy-wise. And you talk about strategy, well, the 24 machine is next to the 51, so Fuller takes the bottom again. But he took the outside, it's because the 24 was back on row 2. Because that 24 is on the front row with him, he's hoping that the 22 of Graves follows him through Ben and block that 24 out on the outside. So second time in a row, the 51 going to kick the 24 topside.
That is, like I said, you gotta love that strategy by Fuller, trying to get the 24 as far away from him as he can. Pace car gonna pull down to the safety of pit road. Fuller's in the gas. Green flag. Doesn't look like it's gonna work out for him as well as it did in the past restarts, because Odo right on his rear bumper as they race out of 2.
And that'll leave the battle behind for third. TJ Graves in front of the one at Timmy Hill. Behind them, the one of Joshua Cotton. The driver that gets stuck out of line this time, the 44 CJ LaVere, the Speed 4 Chevrolet. Back down in line in 7th, in which the position that he started this race in. Back there just a little bit already. We're single filed out inside the top 10 with 15 drivers on the lead lap of the 23 that started at 1/3 distance for the virtual Langley Speedway. Fuller in front, the 24 of Brandon Odo looks if not lockstep with him, maybe just a little bit quicker. The 24 has been putting the pressure on the last 2 runs we've seen, but the caution flag has flown just before he's been able to put a move to him. How aggressive is that 24 going to be, or is he just hanging out in second and has no intentions of going for the number 1 spot right now? Nonetheless, the 51, the 24 fastest cars on the racetrack behind them. TJ Graves, though, I will say the 22 machine has been getting quicker and quicker every single run, and he made the pass on that one at Timmy Hill not once but twice after the one got the spot back from him after a caution flag. Swapped them back up. The 22 found himself in an unpreferred lane. Got the spot back rather quickly. In third, looking for redemption here tonight. He's still with them, just a tack slower than the top 2, who are beating and banging in 3 and 4.
Odo right there on the bumper, tagged it down in 1 and 2. Now does he let off, or does he continue the attack on Fuller as they race down into number 1? Fuller, he knows he's back there now. Can't let up to the pressure in the rearview mirror. He's got to drive out of the windshield. We talked about that last week at Stafford. Langley's an easy track to overdrive. You can't overdrive watching your rearview mirror. You have to drive out the windshield. You can't miss your marks, because if you do, you're going to slide up the racetrack. You're going to open that bottom line, and Odo's going to stick his nose right in there, just like he did down in 1 and 2. He didn't stick his nose. He put the bumper. He tried to slide Fuller up the hard way.
And I'm convinced that that 24 machine wants to get to the top spot, but I just played devil's advocate, and I said, maybe he's just going to hang out in second, then he put the bumper to him. So we know what the 24 wants to do. That is get to the front sooner than later, and just past the 1/3 mark. We're going to be at half distance at about 15 laps from now, and he's going to catch the fence that time at a turn number 4. He's not the only one to have done it. I've seen Fuller brush it a few times, kick off some sparks. The 24 is showing some right side damage. The 51 looks a little bit cleaner on the pass passenger side of that car, but they have both been getting tight in turn number 4, both getting loose as well. Coming into turn number 4, stepping it up the hill, using every single inch of this racetrack. Again, just 6 degrees of banking at this 0.4 of a mile speedway. Not a lot of lateral grip. You have to be very patient on the throttle. It's something that we talked about at the start of tonight's show, Ben, and with that being said, when you're chasing somebody down like that 24 of Brandon Otto, it's hard to not want to plant it just a little bit sooner.
Yeah, this track virtually flat. The only banking it has is for water runoff when it rains. No banking as far as much to lean on with these cars. It's pretty much flat. When you go down there on the apron, you tag the left sides down on the apron, it gets even flatter, and that could upset the car like we're seeing sometimes over in turn number 4 with a couple of these guys getting loose. Oh, no, still though, on the attack. We saw him put the bumper a couple laps ago. He keeps on easing up there like he wants to do it again. I don't know. Maybe he is just waiting. Maybe he got a better rotation down in 1 and 2 the time he tagged the bumper at 51. I don't know though. Fuller looks like he might be starting to pull away from the 24 as we work lap 65.
If the 24's been getting into the corners a lot hotter than that 51 has, that means that Fuller going to be able to get back to the throttle a little bit quicker. He's been beating him off on corner exit the last 2-3 laps or so, but the 24 is not letting that 51 get away. Justin Fuller is no stranger to leading laps on short tracks on the iRacing surface, no stranger to winning races in this series, even in this season. But up front, he can definitely feel the heat coming from behind the 24. Brandon Otto hard into the inside. That time, he'll check up a little bit. Bottom door open to the apron, takes a peek. Nothing brewing that time at a turn number 2. So Brandon Otto took a swing for the fence that time. The 51 shut the door at 67.
Starting to get a little impatient as laps start to count down. Almost tags the bumper again there on the Fuller machine. These guys continuing to race it down for the lead. Graves hopes Otto gets in there hot one time and watches them both up the racetrack because he'll be able to slide right by. Graves has a fast car. He's stayed up with these guys. Graves, he might just be sitting back there holding his own real estate right now, waiting for these two guys to get together, waiting for them to slide up the racetrack, waiting for something to go wrong with your top 2 for him just to sneak on by.
And he dives it in that time, and all of this going on is slowing these guys up at the front of the field just a little bit. When you're looking at each other, you're not getting the best lap times. 24, 1 shot, 2 shots that time. He is definitely letting the 51 Justin Fuller know that he is there, and TJ Graves, who began to slide back from the top 2. Now back into the conversation in front of Timmy Hill, who's been able to hang on to the number 4 spot. It's still Cotton, Rasmussen, LeVere, Marinac, Smith, and Al Wilkinson, though, inside of the top 10. One change for position there for 9th and 10th position since we last took an update inside of the top 10. But all eyes at the front of the field as Justin Fuller, your pole sitter tonight, trying to hang on up at the front. Going to be halfway home about 2 laps from now. And these guys continue. They're messing with each other. Not only are they getting physical, but it's mind games as well. The 24, he's playing with the 51 just a little bit. Fuller knows he's there. The 24 knows what he's doing. They're on helping each other out by beating up the race cars, but that's all part of the game.
All part of the game is putting on a great show for the fans, and I bet you it's fun inside the cars, too. Those guys is putting on one heck of a show for us here at the broadcast team. Fuller continues to lead. Odo a little bit slower that time in 3 and 4, but he's still right there, and Fuller knows it. Fuller doing everything he can to hold on to that lead because he sees the 22 starting to get bigger and bigger in that rearview mirror, and Graves starting to bring Timmy Hill back into this battle as well.
The top 4, 9/10 of a second between Fuller and Hill, but Hill's got about a half a second back to Joshua Cotton. So the top 4, a bit of a breakaway at the front of the field. We talked about the action heating up. Well, we're no longer counting up, we're counting down. Halfway home at the Langley Speedway. Now 76 laps down and just 74 laps to go. Let's take a look at your iRacing.com Midway Race Leaderboard, presented by iRacing, the leader in motorsport simulations and the official sim racing partner of NASCAR. Justin Fuller, your leader at lap 78. Brandon Otto scored in 2nd. TJ Graves in 3rd. Timmy Hill 4th. And Joshua Cotton in the number 5 spot. Nicholas Rasmussen in 6th. 7th is Stefan Marinac. CJ LeVere is 8th. 9th is Al Smith Jr. And our top 10 is Brandon Wilkinson.
AJ Hamill runs 11th. 12th to EJ O'Rourke. 13th, Dylan Gaddett. Mike Hawksclaw runs 14th. 15th to Bruce Hilton. Brian Rogers Jr. runs 16th, 17th. Philip Thompson, California is 8th. Tony Mongi 19th. Eric Hag rounds out the top 20. Those last 4 drivers all out of the field.
And that would be Taylor Deal, Justin McDuff, Danny DeBook. Their nights again came to an end early after the lap 2 accident. Battle for the race lead. Justin Fuller got to the inside, and now Brandon Odo moved them up out of it. We're side by side for the race lead at lap number 81. Brandon Odo will get it at lap 81. Back down to turn number 3. Try to get clear. Not quite yet. Contact behind. Fuller trying to get in line in front of TJ Graves. 22 not having any of it. The double clutch Chevy to second. Fuller in line to third.
That was a very close call and a great save by Justin Fuller. That could have easily been 4 cars right there. Mangled in turn number 4 in the championship hopes for Justin Fuller. Could have just came to an end. An unbelievable save keeps him in this championship. He loses the lead. He loses second position. But in the bigger picture, you got to look at the championship. You have this race to finish and 2 more still on the schedule.
We also talked about how bonus points weren't that much of a factor, but Justin Fuller enters tonight 2 points ahead of Brandon Odo at the 24. If he wins this race, would be set to take over the championship lead, but Fuller not in all that bad of a spot. Again, third place, a lot better than running in third and then having a TJ Graves night like we've seen so far this season, so he has to continue to focus on protecting his position. Don't look at it as you're 2 spots off of where you want to be. Of course, it's the truth, but don't race over your head. Protect that number 3 spot. Keep it on behind you. Timmy Hill not going to catch you a break if you make a mistake. And that top 4 breakaway, no longer. It is now all Brandon Odo in front of the field. The Iries and Beam Chevrolet Corvette, 0.8 of a second in front of TJ Graves. Fuller, Hill, good battle. 3rd and 4th, Cotton right there as well. So eyes are going to have to start to drift back a little bit as we see how well that 50 with adjusted Fuller could maintain that podium running spot.
Very impressed with Odo out in front of this field. 1 swing away. Graves knocked a 10th out of the lead last time by. He knocked another 10th out this time by. So Graves is starting to reel in Odo. But he did get out to a pretty substantial lead there, and he's kind of holding it for the most part. Graves is pulling away from Timmy Hill, who snags 3rd away from Justin Fuller. Fuller's going to lose 1, 2, possibly 3 spots before we get to the backstretch.
And that 22, I have said, he's been steadily improving on speed since the drop of the green flag tonight. Had a pretty good, decent showing inside of the practice session. 5th best, 4th best in qualifying, 2nd on the racetrack right now. You want to talk about somebody steadily improving over the evening. It is what TJ Graves has been doing tonight. To that gap, as we mentioned, when we said it was all Brandon Odo, was 7 or 0.8 of a second or so. And by knocking him off at about a 10th per lap, it's down to now 3 as the 24 crosses the start-finish line that time. Picks up some spare change that time, going 700ths to the positive to 43 100ths in front at the moment. Timmy Hill now in 3rd as that 50 with adjusted Fuller dropping back behind him, behind Cotton, behind Rasmussen. The Adasign Toyota, and at time race leader and pole sitter tonight, Fuller, that finds himself P6.
Outside the top 5, he's got to try and work to get back up there within striking distance if a late caution comes out in this race. Watching TJ Graves, he's got a fast ride. Has he saved the tires? And oh, look out, your leader Odo gets way down hard into turn number 1, slides up the racetrack. Graves sees an opening on the bottom, takes it, and now he has the lead as they race off turn number 4 to complete lap 93.
Oh, back to the inside. He'll get him in the left rear. TJ Graves will hang on, but that 24 to Brandon Odo with an unforced error, really slow into the corner. He backed that corner up, drove her hard off to the apron. He went, and he gave a love tap to the left rear quarter panel, and TJ Graves got the double clutch entry out of shape. But they both hang on, and the battle for the race lead resumes now with Hill and Cotton in the conversation. The lead is no longer well out in front. More contact. The 24 Odo. Hill hit Graves that time in 4. 3 wide. Timmy Hill at the bottom of the racetrack. He'll take the race lead at 96.
Hill has the lead. Odo now going to get into the bumper of Hill. How in the world were they able to save it down at 3 and 4? Just as we mentioned, he's outside of the top 5. Here comes Justin Fuller right now battling for 3rd. Everybody is caught back up to this lead. Pat Graves is furious. The whole field behind him starting to get worried about how hard they're racing. But Timmy Hill out in front of this field. He brings Odo with him. Graves sits 3rd. Fuller is 5th. Rasmussen rounds out the top 5.
And it heats up at 53 laps to go. Timmy Hill, not even the one that's instigated all of this. He just went to the bottom of the racetrack. He took the open door to the race lead, and now back at his spot after being the fastest driver in the hot lap session earlier tonight in practice, in front to Brandon Otto and TJ Graves in third. The 22 was faster. 18.
Sorry to cut you off there. AJ Hamill right around in front of the leaders in turn number 2. I've watched him for the past couple of laps, and he finally loops it around for good and backs it down up and into the grass. Good job getting out of the way, but that could have been big with Timmy Hill at full speed coming off of turn number 2.
I mean, talk about no banking, really. I mean, it's 6 degrees, but you can basically call it flat, so you got to be careful getting hard into the corner. That's the exact same thing we saw happen to the 24 Odo when he was in the lead. That kind of kicked off that melee of 5 laps up in front of the field, because although we saw Graves close it, Odo was still in front, overshot the corner, opened the door wide open. Leaders, though, down pit road at lap number 100. 2 tires or 4 now is the question.
That's a very big question. It's going to be interesting to see who does what, who's at the back of the field and wants to be at the front, who's at the front of the field and wants to have 4 fresh tires. We're going to find out as they work on the cars down on pit road. Most everybody so far with, Odo going to take 2. Rasmussen with 2. And also Al Smith Jr. takes 2 Goodyear tires. Graves going to be the first one. With 4 tires on this round of pit stops.
And with that, Brandon Otto takes over the race lead again. E.J. O'Rourke stays out, leads a lap, gets a bonus point. Important for one of our championship contenders. He now heads back down pit side this time to get his tire service. It looks like he'll be staying down for 4 fresh Hoosier Racing tires. But in front of the field, the 24 with the strategy call. Just right sides. It's also right sides only for Nicholas Rasmussen. It'll be the first time tonight we'll see the 71 machine inside of the top 3. And Al Smith Jr. first time inside the top 5 tonight. The number 20 machine started this race at 18th position, fighting for the championship as the 13th seed into this championship, and he's now P3 with that call. Not going to be a walk in the park, though, to hold off the likes of TJ Graves, Timmy Hill, Justin Fuller, and CJ LeVere, who are going to restart in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Going to be the first group of drivers with 4 fresh tires. We'll see how much of an advantage that really gives them.
No, holy cow. You thought it was wild before the caution came out. We're about to see some wild racing here on this restart. Some unbelievable racing so far. We had about 4 wrecks there before the caution actually came out. Graves was sideways at one point. Odo was sideways. We had the 3 wide situation there on the front straightaway. Great job by the guys up front hanging on to it. But like I said, you thought it was wild. Just wait until we drop the green flag here in about a half a lap.
The lights off for the pace car, and I would normally say what could be one of the final restarts tonight. However, I'm not buying that. We still have 46 laps to go this time by at Langley. That is plenty of time for these guys to get at each other. So the pace car going to get down. It's Odo, Rasmussen, Al Smith Jr., Graves, and Hill. Your top 5. Pace car down and away from the inside of the front row. Back on away we go. Brandon Odo to turn number 1. He'll get the race lead. The 7 Odo Rasmussen ducks down for 2nd. It's a battle for 3rd on back. 3 wide again. It's Timmy Hill to the inside of the racetrack. There goes Al Smith Jr. hard into the outside while the caution flag flies.
And Al Smith Jr. upside down in turn number 3 on his roof. Goes around off the bumper of TJ Graves. Heading down the back straightaway. It's just too tight here at Langley Speedway for 3 wide, especially heading into the turns. That's what we see, and you see the result right there. Al Smith Jr. on his roof over in turn number 3 as we get the replay up.
And it was a hard hit as well as Smith went to the outside wall for TJ Graves, initiating the contact, but he had no more room to go. And the 20 had to swing out wide because we saw Timmy Hill go 3 wide for the 3rd time tonight, but the 22 was in the fence, and he had the 50 with a Fuller ducking to the inside as well. So it's almost a 4 wide situation. He's got to get going down. He can't keep going straight, but I think that the 22, he kind of got stuck on the right rear quarter panel of Al Smith Jr.'s machine. So the 22 starts going going into the corner. They couldn't get off each other. It turned the 20 around. It doesn't make the news any better for Al Smith Jr. He took a hard lick into the outside fence as one of our championship competitors. Up and over he went. His night will end 45 laps shy of the checkered flag. And again, when it's only a 3-race chase for the championship, having a DNF at round 1, not a good step, especially for one of the underdogs coming into this title fight. So not a good evening for him.
Certainly not. And we knew it was going to be interesting with Smith Jr. restarting there. He had been up there around the front before the caution flew. He takes the 2 tires to get the track position. We knew it was going to be fun to see the drivers get around him. And bad on Al Smith Jr.'s part that he ends up upside down over in turn number 3. But on this restart, not going to have to I don't want to say deal with him, but not going to have to have him out there. So we're going to have just the 2 out front on the 2 tires to see how interesting those guys are going to make it, because everybody else behind them is on 4 fresh Hoosier Racing tires. Odo on that restart, he looked pretty strong for the half a lap we got. He was able to pull out to a 7-8 car length lead over Rasmussen. I'm interested to see if that's going to happen on this restart, because he's going to have Timmy Hill starting right behind him.
Yeah, he have that one on the bumper, and Timmy Hill not a championship competitor. The 71 is. So again, he's going to leave that 71 on the outside of the racetrack. Probably elect to take the bottom based on the strategy that we've seen tonight. Although really the only person we've seen to mix things up at the front of the field so far has been Justin Fuller in the number 51 machine. And that strategy called a start on the outside did come in the opening 15 laps of tonight's competition. Now inside of the closing 40. Going to be right on at 40 laps to go for the restart here. Actually 41 to go, going to 151 tonight. The 24, Odo on the bottom. He'll jump as we go to the restart box as the control car, pace car, makes the sharp left-hand turn, down and out of the way. Across the restart line we go. Green flag back in the air at Langley. Good jump for Odo. Behind him, the battle for second, a pivotal one. Timmy Hill gets it to the inside, spinning behind though. Around goes LeVere.
Around off the bumper of DJ Graves. We've heard that phrase a couple times tonight. Last week's winner sits backwards over in turn number 2 with a little bit of help of Graves. Not really. It's hard to put any driver at fault there. LeVere saw an opening down there. I don't know if he was trying to dive down or TJ Graves just got down into turn 1 a little bit too hard. Either way, they make contact and LeVere goes around for the first time for him tonight. Not the first time a car goes around off the bumper of Graves and LeVere gets a little bit of damage when some other cars come in and tag the front end of that number 44 machine.
It'll be the second one in a row that involves the 22. I think both those guys there, they knew what they were doing though. That 44 on the outside, backing off a little bit, trying to get to the inside of the racetrack, that preferred lane following Timmy Hill through the 22, knew that that was going to be the case. He tried to drive it in a little bit harder, knowing that the 44 was probably going to want that inside of the racetrack, and it's 2 guys going for one piece of real estate. Unfortunately for LeVere, he's the one that goes around Graves for the second time, although involved in an accident, doesn't suffer all that much. He will fall to the number 5 spot. He's lost a spot, now 2 spots per accident, the last 2 yellow flags, but he's still up there as opposed to CJ LeVere, who's back in 13th position, and you're going to have to try to dig his way back up to the field. A lot of the time we'll see somebody spit out like that early in the race. It's not that bad because they can come down, get their tires a little bit earlier, but because we saw everybody come down and get service, it's not going to be a walk in the park for CJ LeVere to get back up. He'll be 13th or so for the restart. His objective now, get inside the top 10, get inside the top 5 if possible, just trying to get a good finish tonight now.
Oh yeah, gotta try to work back in the top 10. Hopefully, within the top 5, it's gonna be a hard task to do with the laps winding down. Haven't looked who's made his way back up into that 4th spot. Haven't mentioned him too much after he got shuffled all the way outside the top 5. Justin Fuller gonna restart on the outside of row number 2 on this restart.
And outside to row 2 has not been the best spot to be tonight, but he is back inside of the top 5 after finding himself about 7th or 8th after the initial cycle of pit service went by at lap number 100. He's been working his way forward. He'll be alongside, as we mentioned, Timmy Hill on the inside, the 2011 NASCAR Nationwide Series Rookie of the Year, making his first start on the season here tonight, going to be on that inside to row 2 spot. That's a critical battle between him and Rasmussen. Rasmussen going to still be P2. it'll be still Hill in third, but that one did have a nose to the inside of Nicholas Rasmussen on the last restart. That's exactly what the 24 of Brandon Odo would like to see again on this one. So we hit the reset button and we do it again. 35 laps to go at the Langley Speedway, the American Childhood Cancer Organization. Ford Mustang GT going to get down, get out of the way, and head pit side. It is Odo on the inside in control and turn 4, green flag.
Green flag back in the air. Rasmussen has the bottom clear. He jumps down. Timmy Hill going to be right on the bumper. Justin Fuller to his outside. Fuller will battle Hill down the back straightaway. Hill going to prevail on the inside. Fuller had an opening there if he wanted to drop down in 3 and 4, but he let Graves fill that spot. Now Graves going to try and get by Fuller for 4th.
That 22 not going to leave a lane open for anybody, so it's Graves on the bottom, battling for 4th. He'll have a nose into turn number 3, and behind the Ollie's Bargain Outlet Chevy coming up as well. At 81 of Joshua Cotton. So Graves gets 4th, the 81 wants 5th, and you talk about having to make up that ground you just made up all over again. It's Fuller going the wrong direction on the outside of the racetrack. Even the 96, Stefan Baranek, one of our rookie drivers in this chase for the championship. He's not going to give it up, and finally Fuller accepts his fate, hits the brakes, jumps in line 7th when it's all said and done.
Battle for the lead. Hill sends it down into 3. Odo let him go. Now Odo with a crossover down the front straightaway. He's back down to the bottom. Battle for the lead. Up in front of this field. Odo down low. Hill up high. Hill's going to fall back in the line. Do we see another crossover into 3? No. Hill going to continue to race on that outside line. He's got to get down though because here's Rasmussen. Rasmussen gets a nose on Hill as they race to 1.
And I'm not saying that the 24 lifted at a turn 4 bend, but that one went to jump in line, and very quickly that gap shrunk between him and a 24. Next thing you know, there wasn't a car length down there. So now Timmy Hill stuck up and at a line and falling back 2nd. Going to go to Nicholas Rasmussen in the Smith Media Production Chevrolet, and now it's Hill and Graves side by side for 3rd, side by side for 5th behind him. Marinac going to move the 81 to Joshua Cotton up at a line. Fuller going to follow him through on the inside of the racetrack, and for 3rd, Graves not cutting the 180 some slack either. He'll drive it in hard and to move him up top side as Graves gets 3rd.
Graves says, I'm still downhill, Hill. You're going to have to stay on the outside for a couple more laps. Hill still stuck on the outside. Marinac going to get by. Fuller could be the next car in line. Cotton's in line as well. Hill could end up outside the top 8 by the time everybody gets by on the inside line. He was just in the lead a couple laps ago.
And now he's in that Justin Fuller line, and that is up and out of line, and he's going to tag the fence. That time he was getting a run and looked like he might have been able to put up a fight with the 81 machine of Joshua Cotton. Not the case, though. He will get in front of the 44 of CJ LeVere, but at time race leader, just 5 laps to go, Timmy Hill, they're going to find himself back in the number 7 spot. So where does that leave Brandon Odo? Inside of 24 laps to go now for the driver of the 24. He holds off Rasmussen, and for a driver that hasn't been in the middle of our main conversation all night long, he's pedaling. That 71 machine a car length off.
He comes into the night 2nd in the iRacing Power Rankings from last weekend, and he sits 2nd in tonight's race, right on the bumper of Brandon Odo, with a shot now to win this race. Like you said, we haven't mentioned him in the first 100 laps. Now here he is battling for a chance to win within the final 20.
And they stay about equidistant, I'd say a car length and a half or so amongst the top 3, and TJ Graves, who has shown that he's not afraid to be physical late. He is now in the conversation as well. It's a top 3 breakaway with Odo, Rasmussen, and Graves within half a second and over a second back to 4th, but I can promise you that 2nd statistic not going to remain true for long because that's Justin Fuller. Again, he fell back to 7th. He has since passed 3 drivers back, getting back around to Marinac, Hill, and Cotton inside of the top 4 now. At a contact, we're hearing back inside the top 10 between the 96 and the 1. Marinac gave a hell of a shot to Timmy Hill in the battle for 6th. The 1's going to be able to hang on and defend that spot, but they're physical all over the place.
Oh yeah, laps are winding down, trying to get every position you can here in the final 20 or so laps here at Langley. Battle gonna heat up for the lead. I've got a feeling. Graves, remember the shot that put him almost into the outside wall, sideways in front of the field? It was from that number 24, Brandon Odo. If Graves gets back to the bumper, Evan, do we see a little bit of retaliation?
While I feel like we will, we do have to note that the 22, again, not in the championship battle. The 24 is a chase driver. It's a Matt Kenseth and a Joey Logano scenario here. Just because it's a top 14 battle for a title doesn't mean that the other 15 or so drivers there every single week are not a factor. And what we could see that 22 machine be a factor late because he is all over Rasmussen, and he also has Fuller close it in. Not as quick as I'm sure the 51 would like or need to, because this time by will have just about 15 laps to go from Langley. They got to hustle, but there's about 3 drivers behind Brandon Oda that have a shot at taking it from him.
I can rest assured the Graves, TJ Graves, his mindset, he doesn't see the orange on the numbers of the 2 cars in front of him. All he sees is that checkered flag waving, and he wants to be the first car to cross under that flag stand, and he's trying everything he can. But Odo is starting to pull away. He puts a little bit of distance on Rasmussen that time by. Maybe the 4 tires wasn't the way to go. Maybe the 2 tires was just what they needed in this final 50-lap stint. Of course, a couple of cautions thrown in helped him out a little bit, but Graves is doing everything he can to try and get around Rasmussen. Rasmussen doing everything in his power to try and reel down Brandon Odo as the laps continuing to click down. We're almost to 10 to go.
We talked about 2 tires versus 4. Well, it was Brandon Odo, Nicholas Rasmussen, and Al Smith Jr. who took 2. Well, Al Smith Jr. wrecked out of this race off with the second restart after that cycle of pit strategy. But Odo and Rasmussen get back up to 1-2, and that's still where they sit on that 2-tire call. Graves, Fuller, Cotton, everybody else on 4 tires. Here goes the 22. He knows he's running out of time. 11 laps to go as we'll come under the start-finish line this time by. Ono would not like more or less for that number 71 to have to fight with the 22 for a little bit. If Graves makes quick work of Rasmussen, he's got a shot at Odo. If that 71 and the 22 are stubborn with each other for a little bit, that's good news for the iRacing Chevy in front. Brandon Odo 10 laps away from opening up the chase with a win.
Rasmussen is driving the wheels off of that car. Graves is driving the wheels off of his car. He almost tags the bumper at a 71 lap time by. Both these drivers, a little bit of over-driving into the turns is allowing Odo to continue to pull away on corner exit. Now the battle is heated up for second. Graves has caught the bumper of Rasmussen. Do we see him use his bumper to get around?
And they're falling off now 4/10 away from Brandon Odo. And Justin Fuller now falling out of the conversation in 4th. He's 1.3 seconds back. So it could be a last-ditched effort for no more than second. Hard that time into the corner. Can't get back to the gas off of turn number 2. TJ Graves trying everything he can to get to the back bumper of Nicholas Rasmussen. Not able to do so yet.
Graves got loose out of 2 that time, continuing to overdrive that car to try and get up to P2. He might just have to settle for P3 here, but as a driver, that's going to be one thing hard to hear, something you don't want to hear. You want to get every position you can. Odo, he's got a pretty substantial lead. He's going to be able to just ride pretty smooth here and close out this race. All he's got to do is be mistake-free, and we can rest assured we'll see him in victory lane with a handful of laps. The battle, though, going to be for that 2nd spot and for that 4th spot. Justin Fuller trying to hold off Joshua Cotton.
Oh, TJ Graves, the 22, way out of shape. He'll spin down the back straightaway. He collects the 1 at Timmy Hill. Caution flag flies at 4 laps to go, and I believe that'll end this race under the caution flag. Just inside 5 to go, just inside the window that a yellow would end this race. TJ Graves digging and digging just a little bit too much, Ben. Sent that car in sideways, held on to it. Unfortunately, he collected the number 81 machine, heavy front end damage on the entry of Joshua Cotton. And bad news for Timmy Hill, who was having a good run in his season debut. He gets tagged and collected in that one. It's a 2-car accident on 147.
Sadly, that's going to just about wrap this race up. Graves, we talked about it, overdriving that car. Finally, it catches up to him. The rear end steps out. Like you said, he was able to save it, but the 81 just coming in there full speed, not going to let up with 5 laps to go. He goes right into the rear bumper of him, sends Graves at the racetrack, and Graves, like he says, collects Timmy Hill. Hill almost had it cleared, just gets tagged in the last little bit of that crash. Most part, a 3-car incident, could have been bigger. But still, TJ Graves, the bad luck continues on that number 22 ride as he sits outside the top 10.
Lights on top of the pace car don't go out this time by, which means that this race will end at a slowed pace at just about 35 miles an hour behind the pace car in what was an exciting, thrilling, and aggressive opening round to this three-race chase for the championship, as tonight we get down to business and get our first of three out of the way in hopes of crowning our 2016 Lays Enterprises MP Roy Incorporated Pro Late Model Series champion. White flag gonna fly this time by for Brandon Odo, who had a good night all night long, was up there, started second, but it'll be the two-tire call from him and the two-tire call from Nicholas Rasmussen to make a top 10 car a top 3 car. They hang on at the end. Justin Fuller going to be able to find himself on the podium after all of that, after he passed 2 spinning cars on the 4-to-go lap, but for the final time into turns 3 and 4 as the defending series champion. Entering tonight at the bottom of the barrel. It'll be his first win on the season, and such a sweet time to break through. Checkered flag will fly alongside the yellow. Winner at Langley, Brandon Odo. First time of the year he picks up the W, and that is a step in the right direction for defending your title, and he'll do some of those infamous burnouts to celebrate tonight's victory.
Spectacular race as Odo's going to burn them down. Drifted, it looks like a dirt late model out there as he continues to celebrate. Going to come down to the front straightaway, celebrate in front of the fans. Happy man right there. We'll talk to him in just a little bit. Like you said, first win on the season. Couldn't have picked a better place to do it than at Langley to start this chase off.
And he'll do those burnouts all the way around Langley, and he'll get a couple more than 151 laps in that he got done tonight. And for Rasmussen, for Fuller to come home as well inside of the top 3. You got Joshua Cotton just behind Stefan Baranek and CJ LeVere. The top 6 drivers tonight are coming home as chase drivers in this championship, in a total of, I believe, 8 of the top 10 are championship competitors. It was a strong opening night for the Upstate Racing League chase for the championship from Langley, but Brandon Odo finally gets a W on the 2015-2016 season, and he couldn't have chosen a better time to do it, because he'll lead the championship standings outside of Langley Speedway. We'll be back in just a moment on LSRTV at iRacing Live for the post-race show from Langley. Talk to your top 3 finishers, get some driver reaction, and then get you set for chase race number 2 coming up next Thursday here on LSRTV, the 28th of January, for the CFK Construction 150 at Sobo. So back in a moment for the LSRTV wrap-up. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Upstate Racing League Lays Enterprises MP Roy Incorporated Pro Late Model Series on iRacing Live at LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
We welcome you back live to the virtual Langley Speedway for the LSRTV post-race show from the Adasign Wraps 150 that goes to the driver of the number 24, Brandon Odo, who picks up his first W on the 2015-2016 campaign. And for it to come in the first race of the Upstate Racing League chase for the championship, 1 down and 2 to go after tonight, couldn't be better timing. They're pushing that car down to the virtual victory lane. In the meantime, we've caught up pit side with tonight's third place finisher and tonight's pole sitter after starting on the pole in the AdesignWraps.com entry. Justin Fuller comes home for a third place finish tonight to open up the Upstate Racing League chase for the championship, and we've caught up with him. Justin, congratulations. I know it was a solid finish for you guys, but I mean, if we redo those final 50 laps, even the final 100 laps over a couple of different times, I'm sure we'd end up with a different winner every single time. It was definitely a wild one. You guys weren't afraid to get physical for the opening round of the championship. You end up on the bottom step of the podium. Walk us through it.
Yeah, we had a good race. Got the pole. We were quick all night long, and we were doing really good until the track rubbered in and kind of lost grip due to the centering off. Took tires there, and we just kept restarting on the outside line, and I'd gain 3 spots, I'd lose 4 on a restart, gain another 3 spots, lose another 3 on a restart. Just could never get an inside start, and that's ultimately what killed us. I hate this track. Take a third place, I guess, and move on from there.
Everybody wanted to get to the inside of the racetrack. We were talking a lot about tonight, only 6 degrees of banking. It might as well just be flat, and everybody wanted to be on the bottom. We saw a couple of times there early in this race when you were in front, choosing the bottom, choosing the outside. Was that any specific strategy for you as opposed to trying to hold some of the guys off behind you, championship drivers, and work with that one machine putting himself in between you and, say, an auto up there, or were you just kind of feeling out the track early?
No, it was a planned move. Me and Timmy, teammates, and it had nothing to do with keeping Otto back there. I'm not afraid of Otto. It's just he's a teammate, and I'm going to do what I can to help him to have a good run. So we did, kind of what they do in the big leagues. Hey, you start on the outside. I'll let you in the turn 1, and from there on, we'll sort it out from there. And it worked. Had nothing to do with trying to work against Otto. Him and I are pretty competitive against each other. We race each other with a lot of respect and clean, so I wouldn't do anything to damper that.
So for a racetrack that you weren't all that comfortable at, although we have seen you show up the tracks that you say you don't like and dominate races, you get a P3 tonight, so it's a good step forward rolling into this championship. 1 down, 2 races to go, and it will be at Sobo, and then we'll be at New Smyrna for the next 2. So based on what you saw here tonight, kind of the taste you got of how everybody else is going to drive for these next 2 races, what are you thinking?
Well, I got tonight hard to pass. Next week, there's at least a couple grooves, and it'll be a lot easier to pass. So tire strategy will be a lot more. Yeah, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but it'll be worth more on the tires, and can't wait. I think it's going to be really good. South Boston's a really fun track. New Smyrna, 200 laps. That's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out, and we'll see. It's a good start. Got some good bonus points with the pole award. Led the most laps, led a lap, and no incidents.
A good night all in all, sir. You start from pole, you come home third in the AdesignWraps.com Camry. And tonight's Adasign Wraps 151. Any other shout-outs you want to give out before we let you go?
I want to thank Adasign Wraps, not only for sponsoring the car, but sponsoring the race. Upstate Racing League, MP Roy for sponsoring the series. Mach 2 Management, iRacing Memes, Lake City Hobbies, Hanson Starter Shop, Lake City RC Speedway, LSRTV, you guys in the booth. You guys do a great job every week. I'm really sad to hear about what's going on with Laura, and I hope everything works out good for her.
But oh, she appreciates the kind words, Justin, to make sure to pass it on, sir. Congratulations to you. But I always say it. It's a pleasure to watch you guys out there on track. You guys put on a show tonight, as always. Again, congrats, though. Solid finish. We look forward to seeing you again next Thursday.
Yes, thank you. See you guys next week.
So that is tonight's third place finisher and pole sitter tonight, Justin Fuller, going to walk away third from the Langley Speedway. Meanwhile, 1 spot up on the standings, Nicholas Rasmussen. Strategy call, 2 tires to get himself to the second place tonight. Ben, you're with him.
Down here with Nicholas Rasmussen. Great way to start off the chase with a second place finish. Too bad it was just 1 behind defending champion Brandon Odo. We head to South Boston though next weekend. They'll give you another shot. Talk about that strategy call. With about 50 or so laps to go, you come in, you put 2 tires on it. You think that's one of the main reasons why you're inside this top?
Oh yeah, definitely. The strategy call was the right one. We have done a lot of long runs in practice, And I knew as soon as I got heat into the tires after switching to 2 tires, the car was going to be really stable. And I knew it was a good way to gain a lot of spots that I believed that I was going to be able to keep. And luckily, it turned out to be true. Unfortunately, I couldn't beat Brandon. He's undefeated here, so congratulations to him. Good to see him take a victory. But all in all, yeah, a good way to start the chase. I'm honestly happy with this race here.
A lot of close calls for you and a couple other competitors tonight that could have taken you out of the race. The main one being that lap 1 incident. Talk us through what you remember about that and just how thankful you are you were able to avoid it and able to pick up this P2 finish tonight.
Oh, very thankful. I mean, I got around the main rig. Unfortunately, my computer lagged and I lost all frame rates for, probably 2 seconds where I didn't know where I was heading. So I was relieved to make it through that rig. Obviously, a big deal. I wouldn't, if I obviously have been involved in that one, my race would have been over and probably also my chase. So it's a key factor in this race here.
A P2 finish here tonight. We head to South Boston next weekend, or next Thursday, I should say. How do you feel about the 4/10 mile up in Virginia?
South Boston is one of my favorite tracks. It's good fun to race around, but you could sort of say the downside for us drivers here is it's a very unpredictable place and you can get caught up in an incident easily. But it should produce a lot of good racing. I look forward to it and hopefully I can pick up the win there.
That would be nice. Move up 1 position from this week. P2's, though, certainly a great finish. And like I said, to start off the chase, you couldn't ask for a better run. Who do you want to thank for putting you on the podium here tonight at Langley?
My team, Ninja Racing Team, sponsor Smith Media Production, Finn Olsen VVS, series sponsor MP Roy, Kasper Trane, and a huge thank you to my crew chief, Henrik Rasmussen, who I wouldn't have been anywhere near racing so without him, so I'm very thankful for him. He deserves a huge shout out for putting me here in not only in iRacing but also in real life. So he always puts his heart into this racing deal here and it means a lot to me.
We can certainly tell. Tonight, we congratulate you on that, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday in South Boston.
Thank you. I look forward to racing.
There you have it, Evan Nicholas Rasmussen, and I think you're down in victory lane with our defending champion, who's starting out the chase pretty good here tonight with a win at Langley. Evan?
And that's our Brandon Otto get to start tonight's race from the number 2 spot. A good starting position, but for the 24 machine, no wins in races 1 through 9. And as we roll into races 10 through 12, which are the ones that matter, check mark in the first race. Brandon Otto back to Upstate Racing victory lane tonight at the Langley Speedway, and that puts him at the top of the chase standings after 1 of 3 chase races. Brandon, congratulations to you. You got to bring the burnout back after some time off at victory lane, and we mentioned if there's going to be a time to pick up that first W on the year and get hot, now's the time to do it, and you open up this chase with the trip to victory lane. No better night you could have had.
Absolutely, yeah. It felt really good to finally fling that thing sideways and do some burnouts for you guys. Yeah, it was a pretty crazy race, very eventful. Again, started from second place, and we were really looking for the pole, but second place was, the next best. Probably would have rather had third place to get on Fuller right away, but me and Justin battled most of the race, along with Timmy, a bunch of other guys up there, TJ, all showing me what they had. I was surprised. Usually we can kind of run away with this one, but I had a lot of competition this race, so I definitely had to work for it.
Just got finishing talking with Justin Fuller, who comes home third tonight. He said, not a big fan of this track. It's very flat. There's not a lot of lateral grip, which when we started the broadcast, we said means we're going to have to see patience, at least patience on the throttle. Not a lot of patience tonight. I mean, you guys were really physical out there. Was that the nature you were expecting?
Yeah, anytime you go to a flat short track like Langley, Martinsville, any of those places, Oxford, you're gonna see a lot of physical action out there. You're definitely gonna see some people bumping each other out of the way, lots of crossovers, and I mean that's the best racing there is, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm glad we got it done, especially at this track. It definitely takes a lot to get to the front and keep it there.
So race 1 of 3 really now, instead of talking about 9, and rather on from 9, 10, 11, 12, we're talking about race 1 of 3. This is what you guys have been waiting for all season. Not that you guys have not had a good regular season, but you just missed breaking through into tonight. 4 top 5, 6 top 10s in 9 starts. Getting this W, I'm sure, is going to help you out confidence-wise. Does anything change on your approach going into round number 2, knowing that you're on top and in effect you're trying to defend? Or is it basically, though, just trying to put up the best defense with a good offense and going out there and trying to get a win every single week? How do you approach these next 2 races now, knowing that you're now the one with the target on your back?
Well, I like the way you said it, playing good defense just by playing offense. Probably going to go out there and do that. It does take a big weight off of my shoulders getting the first win of the season, especially now that we can kind of look back at the opposition. But again, we still have to go out there and try to compete for the win every week. You got guys, Fuller's up there every single week. Nick Rasmussen, he's poking his head in there. He's definitely going to be a contender in this championship. We're going to have to really step up our game and continue to try to go for the win every single week.
Well, next week, going to be race number 11 on the season, and it's going to be 150 laps in the CFK Construction 150 from Sobo, a very tight racetrack, not a lot of room for you guys to negotiate things. Is that a track that plays into your strong suits, or is it going to be a challenge?
Well, we've always been strong at Sobo. It's a kind of a love-hate relationship track. I feel like I say that almost every single time I get interviewed by you guys. But yeah, Sobo, it can really bite you if you get in the wrong groove at the wrong time. But it can also play into my favor too. I really like the track. It's a nice little short track. Again, it kind of plays into the way I like to race. So yeah, look for us to be pretty competitive there. And again, we'll be going for the win.
Pretty competitive you were tonight, and you did pick up that win. First one on the season to the top of the championship standings with just 2 races to go. Defending series champion. Trying to go back-to-back at a good night for you tonight, Brandon. Before we let you go, sponsors and shout-out some of the people behind the scenes who do want to give a call to.
Oh, definitely the iRacing Memes Facebook page if you haven't gone on like that. Facebook.com/IRMEMES. We post some pretty funny stuff all the time. I got to thank the guys over at Pole Position Raceway Buffalo. I know Dylan Yorks, Scott Kruder. I think Sam Junkins over there watching still. So thanks for watching, guys, and commenting all race long. Also got to thank Tony Moan for really helping me through this race. I know he got taken out early, and he volunteered to be my spotter and kind of guide through this race, talk me through some of this hectic mayhem that was going on out there. So I gotta put a huge thank you to him. I gotta thank everybody else watching, of course. Ed Neal's out there watching, BJ Antonio, Mike Tedonio, everybody that comes out and watches every single week. Thanks for tagging along, guys. Hopefully we put a good show on for you. And of course, thanking you guys up in the booth, putting on a great broadcast every single week.
I will say, Brandon, every time you put that car in victory lane, we appreciate the photo opportunities that the burnout gives us. Always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for sticking around and chatting. Best of luck. We'll see you next Thursday night.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much.
So Benedetto goes to victory lane tonight. The official number has been in the points going to be +4, but interestingly enough, do you want to note, bonus points now factored in officially. Justin Fuller is going to be in front of the championship still after getting the most laps led bonus point just by 1, but Brandon Otto is 1 point back. Fuller still top.
A very interesting start to the chase as we look at final finishing results here tonight from Langley Speedway. We talked to him. Brandon Odo comes home with the win. Rasmussen second, Fuller third. Joshua Cotton, he has a good run. He comes home in fourth. Stefan Marinak, a good top 5. Last week's winner, CJ Lever, has a good comeback from the early spin. He comes home 6th. 7th to Brandon Wilkinson. Didn't talk much about him. Good finish. Dylan Gaudette comes inside the top 10. He's 8th. EJ O'Rourke is 9th. And Rookie of the Year standings point leader Bruce Hilton rounds out our top 10.
And then just behind, in 11th spot, Timmy Hill's season debut inside the top 5, involved in the last lap accident that ended this one at 4 laps to go. TJ Graves as well involved in 12th. They round out the drivers on the lead lap. Everybody else out of this race: Mike Holtzclaw, Philip Thompson, Al Smith Jr. through 15th, AJ Hamill, Brian Rogers Jr., Jada DeBuke, Justin McDuff, Dale O'Neill through 20th, and then Cale Frenier, Tony Manji, and Eric Hagg round out the field through 23rd spot. 1 down, 2 to go. We look forward to the next race on the campaign at the South Boston Speedway next Thursday. But let's look at the points. Well, where we sit, Justin Fuller atop with his 8th top 5 finish on the season by 1 point over Brandon Otto after the bonus points and such were factored into tonight's race. Again, Fuller getting a couple of bonus points for starting on pole. He will retain the race lead and the championship lead just by 1 back to Brandon Otto. And then you'll have 4 points back as Nicholas Rasmussen, Joshua Cotton, Marinac, and LeVere through the top 6. And then you start to look down to the likes of O'Rourke, Hilton, Thompson, Smith, and then DeBuke, McDuff, Bonji, and O'Neill. Those final 4 names I mentioned over 20 points out. Face a very large uphill battle, Ben, if they want to get back into this. It is not looking good, but it is far from over. We saw a lot of excitement tonight, and as I told Justin there when we talked to him, if we reset this race and go back to 50 laps to go back to 100 laps to go, and do this thing over a couple of times, Brandon Otto is not going to win it every single time. This race could have gone any direction. We could have seen anywhere between him and about 6 or 7 other guys that were inside the top 5 tonight win this race. Fortunately enough for the iRacing Beam Chevrolet, he ends up on top. But TJ Graves, another sour finish based on the night that he had. Timmy Hill, good showing, not the finish that he necessarily deserved tonight either. So based on what we saw tonight, I'm looking forward to next week. 20 points seems like a lot, but I don't think that even the guys up at the front and the guys at the bottom can count anything out, though.
Oh, yeah, like Nick Rasmussen said in his interview, South Boston is one of those tracks that's fun. It's going to put on a good show, but very unpredictable. Very tight, South Boston is. There's a couple grooves, but when you get down to the straightaway, it's almost like a 5-flag speedway on the front straightaway there. It gets very tight, and it gets very tight very quick. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen next week at South Boston. Based on this race, we're not even going to be able to predict what's going to happen at South Boston. Who's even going to be the winner? Would say 10 or go by the time we get to next week. It's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to get it started. Awesome start to the chase. Couldn't ask for a better race tonight. We saw some hard racing, some close calls, some good saves, some great side-by-side racing here at Langley. And like I said, South Boston is going to be fun next week with 150 laps.
Yeah, and we're not even going to, as you mentioned, try to predict anything. The only thing we can tell you is to tune in next Thursday night. And a lot of people are not fans of the chase on the real-world side of things. I'm a big fan of it on this sim. And again, as I said when we started tonight, when you take short track racing and you take a chase and you put them together and hang a championship in front of 14 drivers and give them just 3 races to do it, you're going to see what we saw tonight week in and week out. We hope to see you next Thursday night for round 2 or round 11 if you're looking at the season total of the 2015-2016 Upstate Racing League Pro Late Model Series Chase for the Championship as we head to South Boston for 150 laps. So until then, on behalf of everybody at LSRTV and for the broadcast team tonight, myself, Evan Pasoko, Ben Kilcrease, and LSRTV's executive producer, Laura Lawson, want to thank you so much for being a part of tonight's Thursday night short track action with us. Encourage you to tune in next Thursday night. Congratulations to Brandon Otto, big winner at Langley. Congratulations to Justin Fuller, top 3 leading the championship standings after 1. Good night, though, for the virtual Langley Speedway. We'll see you next Thursday night from Sobo for the CFK Construction 150.